Hello quality people and welcome to the Quality Broadcast. We don't believe in self-improvement. We believe in Christ improvement. Our aim is to encourage you daily to pursue a more Christ-like version of yourself by providing you with practical advice and biblical breakdowns. We will be live momentarily. Until then, tell us where you're tuning in from.
Quality is more than just a YouTube channel. It's a press towards the mark. Not the mark of the beast. More like gospel of mark. More like marked by God. We move mountains by living a lifestyle called on by the Father, exemplified by Jesus.
Our job as believers is to traverse this mountain up towards Jesus, and as we traverse it, we get a clear image of who He is.
I don't need these personality tests. I don't need to know my attachment style. All I need is to point towards Christ.
As I kind of matured in my relationship with Christ, I realized I don't have to be perfect. I just have to keep getting up each day and make a decision to stay committed to my relationship with Him.
Welcome to The Quality Life. If you like what we stand for, please subscribe. Also, share this channel with another quality person. See you in our next video. Quality.
What is up, quality people? We are here in the house, and this is. I forgot to take that song out. I don't know why that was in there. But yeah, we are here. Whole gang is here. We got me. We got Miracle. We got Kenya. Yeah, we're about to have a good time. How are y'all doing today?
Doing good.
Good. Looks like the audio's good today, so we should get into. Oh yeah, Alan's in the house. Let's acknowledge some quality people. We haven't done this in so long. I'm forgetting our,
What's up, Alan?
customs and everything. So Alan says, "Let's go. I'm turned for you all."
As you
should. Yeah, as you should. I'm excited to get this show started. You saw the title and the thumbnail, so we're gonna be getting into some stuff today. Yeah, we've been off. What have y'all been up to these last week and a half that we haven't streamed?
Well, I was sick last week, as a lot of people probably have been.
That's flu season.
Yep, I was out. But lately, just been playing pickleball again, having fun with it again. And yeah, that's all I've been up to.
Yeah, beautiful.
Love it. Yeah, I've been back on my workout game and writing a lot more and just trying to get back to making God my number one. Because you can fall off for a few days and come back. So I'm trying to come back.
That's hilarious. Shout out to Mayday. He says, "Pickleball for the win."
Yeah, you know what's up.
Gary. I like that. We got T-Mac in the house as well, saying, "Hello, all. Let's get it started."
Hello.
And Alan says, that.
Yeah, he got on me about that. I'm working on it.
T-Max in the house. This is aimed at Kenya, so shots fired from all of the family today.
Yeah, my mom and my grandpa came to visit me.
Yeah, that's not
and
important.
we got our venue last week.
Oh.
What? Really? Yes, we did.
Yeah, we're locked down for August 17th of 2024.
Oh my God!
Year
so
of our
excited.
Lord. Yeah, no.
August 17th.
Yeah, August 17th is going down. Did we choose a time or? We didn't really set a specific time. She said let us know.
But she said probably 5 because I wanted 5:30. She said that was too late.
Yeah.
So do you have to pick a time when you pick the venue? Like, is it required?
Yeah, because it's
how it works.
cordoned off into blocks as far as like when you have it and everything. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a nice, cute little venue. Place for the ceremony, place for the party. So I'm excited, and
wedding season.
It's wedding season, August 17th. Party with the prophets.
Yep.
All right. Now we need to get into some of our stuff. All right. Now we're going to fact check Ben Shapiro's Facts. So,
I got a question.
and that question is Ben Shapiro really spitting facts? So if you didn't know, Ben Shapiro is a rapper now.
What?
Not really. He's not really a rapper, but he did appear on a rap song with an actual rapper named Tom McDonald. A lot of people probably didn't know him before this, but he's big in the independent space. So if you're into that indie music, I heard him a lot in college, and when he was kind of coming up and making his rounds in the early in his career. And I mean, to be honest, he's not a bad rapper. Not really for me. His appearance probably throws a lot of people off because he's got tattoos everywhere and he looks, real dirty. He looks dirtier than Post Malone.
I was
Now,
about to
that's
say,
hard
is
to
it
do.
okay?
That's hard to do. This boy looked dirtier than Post Malone. But
Wow.
he's obviously a lot more conservative. And so Ben Shapiro got on a rap, and we're going to talk about it. So is Ben Shapiro spitting facts? So let's throw up some of his lyrics to this song, and we're just going to go through it. So the song's called Facts. So you see there. Now, Tom McDonald just kind of comes out swinging, and it's really funny because you got this guy with all these tats, and he kind of looks more progressive, more liberal, more on the left, but he's just saying all of the right talking points. It's really hilarious. So they call me offensive, controversial. Oh, and actually, let's get to the chorus. So I don't really care about his verse. So chorus goes, "I don't care if I offend you." So this boy's like, yeah,
it is what it is.
It is what it is.
I said what I said.
I was put here to upset you. I was put here to upset you. Like, man, that sounds like
That's
Satan.
a task right there.
Yeah.
that sounds like Satan.
Ouch. Right.
You can cry and you can scream. Now we're getting into some scary movie stuff. You can riot in the streets. Okay, now that's a fact because the people on the left, they be riding in the streets.
That's true.
Tearing down their own communities in the name of justice. But then the people that in the businesses that get torn down don't get justice, which is the irony of it all.
Because they get. It's okay though. It's okay that their businesses get burned down. It's okay because they can get it back anyways.
Yeah. Insurance, right?
Right.
That's
yeah.
always the
That's always the
excuse.
thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, I mean, yeah, I mean it's not a good excuse.
Not at all. No,
It's not an
it's
excuse
terrible.
to vandalize property
It's terrible.
and destroy people's livelihoods.
Yeah.
It's
Because
awful.
I mean, they might not be able to bounce back from that. Oh, you can get the
Exactly.
money back, but then now you've destroyed their business and their flow of business
Yep.
that they may not be able to recover. What
Now
if they
they're
were
losing out on revenue
What
for
if
a
they were
period of time.
Yeah, what if they were already, on the struggle bus trying to revive their business in the
Yeah.
first place, and then you just come in with the kill punch? Like,
Yeah.
I actually heard when all that happened, I remember someone was like, yeah, Target got burnt down. And I was like, yeah,
Right.
that's terrible. And they were like, they can get a new
They're like,
business. I was
right.
like,
They're like, oh, they're a chain that they'll be fine. I'm like,
what happened to the
guys.
golden rule? What if that was your business,
Right.
ma'am? Like,
Right.
right, yeah, it's all good until it happens to you,
Exactly.
right? So,
Oh, every time.
yeah.
Every time.
Interesting. Let's get back into this verse, or the chorus, the hook, if you will. So you can ride in the street, you can defund the police. Now there's no one to protect you. Now that is a
True.
fact. Like if you're gonna go ahead and defund the
Look at
police,
Chicago.
and then say that you can just police yourself, like the places that police themselves. Like there's that district in where did George Floyd get killed? Indianapolis, was
Yeah.
it? Or Minneapolis? Minneapolis, I believe.
sure.
Yes.
All right. Either way, there is a district, and I think it's called the George Floyd district, where there's just no rules.
Yeah.
And it's terrible. Like
Yeah.
it's just high crime. It looks horrible, and it's just a place of pure, just filth and anarchy. And you defund the police, that's what's gonna inevitably happen. So I hope I offend you. See, I'm not really big on I hope I offend you. Like we should be trying to,
I don't like
encourage,
offending
exhort.
people.
Yeah, it's like-
I just would rather tell the truth. If that does offend you, fine.
Yeah.
But my goal isn't to offend
Yeah,
you. It's just to spread the truth.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I mean, sometimes if you actually share the truth, it will cut and convict
Absolutely.
and offend people in the moment. But hopefully you're doing it in a way that helps lead to their healing, helps lead to them seeing the bigger picture,
Yes.
or you inevitably maybe, changing your perspective and y'all meeting in the middle somewhere. And so that's the healthy way to go about it. And I mean, if we talk about, just Ben Shapiro at large, I think a lot of his views on things I would agree with. But I don't always agree with, how he goes about it, because sometimes it's just like,
Same.
come on, man. Like,
Same. Sometimes
you don't have to say, like, you're just being divisive for no reason at this moment.
Yes.
Now, granted, we are in a society right now where it doesn't really look like there's any hope for unity.
No.
And
No,
you could
not at
say
this
on
point.
either side.
I think we're
you can
past
say,
that
yeah,
point.
we're kind
Unless
of,
something
we're almost,
tragic happens.
yeah,
Fall of the Roman Empire.
we're basically almost past that point.
Yeah.
But there's no need to just further, because you only do that because you're like, oh, this is going to get clicks.
Yes.
And granted, he's running a media business and empire. So of course that's his main objective if he wants to make capital. But I just don't like that approach. I rather, make capital in a more, honest way. And I mean, if you're in this business, you're gonna have to, kind of do clickbaity things at times.
Yeah.
You gotta market yourself appropriately. But there is kind of a line where it's like, that wasn't need to be that. You just didn't need to say that.
I want to look back on the content I put out and still look at it and be proud of it years from now, instead of looking back like, man, I guess I probably could have went about that a different way.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, and when you grow, you're inevitably going to do that.
Absolutely.
But you don't want to be like, dang,
that really wasn't me at all.
Yeah, maybe I need to delete this. Like, this doesn't represent who I am at all. Good.
Yeah, and like even taking it a step further, like your kids looking back on it, it's like, oh, my parents were crazy.
Exactly.
Or I'd rather them look back and be like, wow, my parents were so wise.
Yeah.
And they're even more wise now.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point.
I love that.
You should always try to be the representation of the people that you will directly influence.
Yes.
Not only who you're influencing now, but that you will influence in the future, especially if you're doing media. Because, what we're doing now, our children and our children's children and our future relatives, they'll definitely be able to have access to it, even if we delete it. They got that Wayback Machine. They got, all these different things where you can pull up, old archives from the web that have been deleted.
Right.
The internet is forever, and the internet is undefeated. So they will find any, little thing that you've done, that you've said, and, they'll expose you if they want to expose you.
That's so true.
Yep. So he says, I asked myself, what would Ben do? Now, oh, wait, let me put the lyrics back on the screen. He says, I asked myself, what would Ben do? Now, I have never asked myself
ever.
what would Ben. I get it's a song, so it's cool.
Yeah, of course.
But I've never in a million years asked myself,
What would Ben do?
What would Ben Shapiro do? Oh, I would just...
Stop.
Stop it. Oh, God, that was so good. Stop it.
I don't know what Ben Shapiro would do. I really don't know. Guess I need to ask Matt Walsh.
Oh, quit.
Not Walsh.
But
I love Matt Walsh, too.
So he says, let's just keep it real. Facts don't care about how you feel, man. If you want my pronouns, I'm the man. I agree with that. That's solid.
That's like,
I'm the man who don't respect you. See, now
Now it's a little
now
aggressive.
that's like, no, I'm going to respect everybody at a human level. Now, if you don't show me respect, well, then it's just like, that's a whole different dynamic. Now, in fairness, the people he's probably talking to aren't the people that would show him respect or have shown him respect.
That's why I never understood those type of fights. It's kind of like you're doing the same thing the left is doing at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Like, well, who's this helping?
Just be quiet. Like, just go to your corner, because nothing's going to get resolved.
I get this is for fun, but it's like,
unless it's something actually valuable, it's all in vain.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yeah. That is very true. So let's get to Ben Shapiro's verse. And Ben, like, the verse itself is solid. But
the performance.
The performance, it needs a little work.
Oh,
He's like, look at the stats. I've got the facts. My money like Lizzo. My pockets are fat. Like even when he was rapping, it was like he was trying to be hard, but he can't. Like he just can't. Like,
I can
it's
see him as like an
impossible.
Eminem type.
No,
No? Oh.
no.
I didn't watch
It's
the rap
not even a shred of Eminem in him. Not even a shred. So let's put these lyrics on the screen. He says, "Look at the stats. I've got the facts. My money like Lizzo. My pockets are fat." Now,
Can't.
that's not too bad.
I
of
mean,
a
that's
rap.
a solid.
It's
That's a solid line.
but it's just funny. Now, is it facts? He's got some fat pockets. Is Lizzo? Yeah. He said,
Well, she lost
"Homie."
some weight recently. So.
Oh, praise God.
Good job.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was on purpose. It looks like depression weight, but I'm just saying.
Let's hope it's not depression.
Yeah,
weight.
yeah.
We're praying for you, Lizzo.
Exactly.
Homie, I'm epic. Don't be a WAP. So he says WAP in the actual song, but it's spelled out like WAP. So I'm not sure if he's referring to the the wet a kitty or not.
He definitely is, but he knows it don't rhyme with cap. So
Yeah, but it also doesn't associate with Lizzo, so kind of a stretch there.
Yeah, I think that's a separate.
it's not
separate
a
story.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're trying to weave. I get that you're in that vein, but it's not quite consistent with the metaphor.
I wonder who wrote this.
It was probably Tom McDonald that wrote it for him.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Dog, it's a yarmulke, homie, no cap. I like that line. Just the little hat up there. Look at the graph. Look at my charts. You blowing money on strippers and cars. Okay, now we're actually getting into the fact of the matter of what this song's all about. You're going to prison. I'm on television.
Damn.
Dog, no one knows who you are. Now that's kind of vicious.
Ouch. That kind of hurt.
It's like,
But I mean,
but yeah,
Ouch.
it's kind of true. But then it's like, well, who exactly are you talking to?
I
Or
wanna
talking
know who
about?
he's talking
it's kinda,
to.
It's very interesting because it's
You're
like,
going to prison.
are you talking to
I think he's
rappers?
talking to the rap culture.
That's definitely who he's talking to.
Because
Yeah, you're
the
right.
rap culture is going to strip clubs, getting the what's that car? The
Yeah, but
Only thing I know is Hellcats.
Hellcat.
Yeah. Okay.
but here's the problem: he has nothing to do with rap culture. Why is he even involving himself in it?
That's
So I
so
think he's
true.
talking about the broader culture, like society at large. And if you're talking about society at large, well then. Now you're talking about mainly, black people. It's,
Yeah.
Now it's kind of like, oh, this is a little interesting.
It is.
And I mean, I don't think Ben Shapiro's a racist or anything.
I don't think he
But
means to.
sometimes,
comment.
yeah, sometimes he does have some undertones, and it's like, because he doesn't really see it,
Yeah.
and
He's not very introspective. in a
yeah, he
lot
doesn't
of
really see
ways.
it, and then sometimes what he applies to, the black should just do this. It
Yeah.
doesn't apply to his own group at the same time. It's like, well, you said that about us, like
shouldn't
he's not
it apply?
consistent. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I digress. He says, "Dog, no one knows who you are. Keep hating on me on the internet. My comment section's all with Karens. That's a fact. That's hilarious."
Can you pop it back up?
Oh yeah, sorry. Thank you. And I make racks off compound interest. Yeah.
That's funny. I like that.
Y'all live with your parents.
Hey.
Nikki, and now he just keeps
Okay,
coming for all
now
the
I
rappers.
feel attacked. I
What?
can't afford it right now. Okay.
Nikki, take some
Okay,
notes.
you're not,
I just
you're not
did
married,
this.
You're a single woman.
Exactly. I'm waiting until I get married. That makes more sense, right?
Yeah.
Nikki, take some notes. I just did this for fun. All my people, download this. Let's get a Billboard #1. And that's exactly how he
That
said
sounds
it.
like a Dr. Seuss.
No, that was yeah. Now it was #1 on iTunes and Apple, and there was a big push. Like all the Daily Wire people were saying, like, "Hey, get this to Billboard #1. Please don't get this to Billboard #1." Like the song.
That'd be kind of crazy
The
if
song.
it did.
Well,
That would be,
that would just be
though.
indicative of
They got nominated
our
for an
musical
award.
taste.
Yeah.
That's just because the song is decent, but it's not like a bop. It's not a bop. It's
Yeah. Okay.
It's decent rapping. The beat's okay. The mix is not good, in my opinion.
No.
Like,
I need to go back and I need to
Yeah,
listen
you
to
need
it.
to
You know.
listen to
I
it.
haven't listened to it yet.
but yeah, we fact checked Ben Shapiro now. Let's I got a point to make here. So our quality sip is facts don't care about your feelings, but we all feel how we interpret the facts are correct, which leads us, into our final little point here is like, hey, yeah, I get the sentiment that facts don't care about how you feel, but the other side thinks how they feel is right, just the same way you feel like how you're interpreting the facts or the data is right. And so who is correct? Sometimes data doesn't always tell the full story or the full context or all the nuances that go along with the situation that the data is based off of. So, I mean, that's just something to chew on. What do y'all
Sip on.
Or sip on? Yeah, thank you. What do y'all think as we put in a close to fact checking Ben Shapiro?
I don't know. I think it just goes back to a very popular saying, like, the truth without compassion is, there's a certain word for it.
Ooh,
Truth without compassion is, I don't know, vicious. I don't know if that's a word, but it falls
Something to that effect.
I've heard
something
that
to that effect
before.
It's like, tell the truth, but don't tell the truth in order to offend somebody. Tell the truth because you genuinely love them and you want to see them saved. And through that, it should come off better. They might still be offended, but say it out of love, not out of trying to make someone upset.
Yeah.
Amen.
I like that. And as Jordan Peterson says, tell the truth, or at least don't lie. When we come back, we got some more segments for you. Until then, make sure that you... We'll be right back if you're in the live chat.
About that knee drop.
We're going to work through this track meet in Birmingham, get ready for the Nationals, and hope to put in a good performance.
Just making sure she pushes out of both legs out of the blocks and not just relying on one leg. Let's go do it.
What is up, quality people? Welcome back to... I need to change the song. Make sure that you like for the algorithm. People, I'm here. Miracle is here. Kenya is here. Thank you for tuning in to another edition of the Weekly Tea. It hasn't been quite weekly, but we've only missed like a week and a half. We will be back on our regularly scheduled programming when... this Sunday. Are y'all free this Sunday? I'm kind of asking this live. We should be back to normal on this Sunday, so make sure you stay tuned. Make sure you stay locked. Also, we're at 843 subscribers, so thank you for tuning in. We're almost to 1,000. Believe it or not, we just need help from you all because subscribers come in bunches. So when we have a video do well and we have people sharing and liking, then people are notified and they hit that subscribe button in batches and bunches. And so we can't thank you enough for all your support. Also, we have our Substack that'll be launching this Sunday. So it's going to be, I'll try to make that, the correction and the graphic because it says coming soon, but we have an official name for it. So during the next break, look for that to be, submitted there. So Tucker, you good?
We're just yawning at
the exact same time.
So funny.
Jeez. All right, here we go. Tucker and Jordan B. Peterson predict America's fate.
Ooh.
Man, this is something that you're going to want to tune into, and this leads to... I got a question. Do the people truly have the power in America? So you always hear about power to the people. You know, you always hear about, you know, the people choose the leaders, who does choose, you know, the ruling class. But do we truly have the power in America? What do y'all think?
No.
Oh, you say no.
Do we currently have the power? No. Could we? Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes,
That's
I
a
would
little
agree.
convoluted. Now, Tucker and Jordan B. Peterson had two separate answers, surprisingly. So let's take a look at how, you know, Tucker addressed this.
Happen. And I guess I dissent a little bit from the much more optimistic view that you have, both of you, which I really appreciate hearing, and I want to believe it, but that in the end, the will of the people matters. The conclusion that I've come to is that it matters less than it should.
Hold up.
Wow.
That's real.
So Tucker's like, hey, you two over there. So he's talking to the moderator and about, you know, Jordan B. Peterson. He's like, hey, y'all think the people got the power. But the conclusion I come to is that, they should, and maybe they do, but they don't really have it. They don't really have it. So this gets into our quality sip. And our quality sip is, if you keep people divided, the plutocrats will continue to rule. So now a plutocrat is basically people who use their wealth to, you know, maintain authority throughout the land. And so if we're divided, if we're constantly fighting over, you know, the left talking points versus the right talking points, then of course, like, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? Because like, if you're distracted on, you know, killing each other, well then, yeah, I'm friends with you and I'm friends with you. Y'all go ahead and destroy each other, and I'm just going to sit back and I'm at full strength, right? I'm already stronger than you because I have more resources than you. I'm wealthier than you. But now you are weaker because y'all are fighting amongst yourselves and not addressing the true problem that is at hand. And that's why my mom always says this: the disparity between the haves and the have-nots is going to be greater than ever as we venture into the future. And that is not a good thing, which is which is kind of the downfall of capitalism, right?
Yeah.
Which is why we do have socialist systems in place in our society, because, you know, there are, you know, people that get down bad that aren't lazy and just mooching off the government, but they actually need assistance and they find their way back and help contribute to society. But at the same time, you know, socialism kind of bites you in the butt if people aren't holding their weight, right? Because then you're uplifting somebody who is poor that isn't really contributing to society at all. So are they actually really a part of society, which is a deeper, more profound, you know, question that you can venture into.
Yeah.
But yeah, what do y'all think about this before we dive more into Tucker Carlson? If you keep people divided, the plutocrats will continue to rule.
I mean, it's absolutely true. I mean, keep the people distracted so I can continue to do what I do in the background. I'm gonna pass this policy over here to do this thing, but I'm gonna have y'all distracted with the Oscar nominations and keep y'all fighting about gender.
Yeah.
You know? So I'm gonna pass a few policies over here that y'all won't notice that are already in effect, and I'm gonna keep y'all, you know, distracted with the entertainment. I think the Roman Empire did that too. When things were happening, like different wars with different nations and stuff like that during the time, they kept the people distracted with entertainment, plays, and what they call the Colosseum stuff that was
like
going on.
the gladiator fights?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. So yeah, keep the people distracted so I can keep doing what I'm doing. I mean, that's exactly what's happening. So we fall for it every time. We never learn from history.
Every
So
time.
Okay, what do you think, Kenya?
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. Like, we saw it happen with COVID. Like, we were all distracted with COVID and whatever else was going on during that year. And then we all completely missed the whole Taiwan, China thing going on behind the scenes and the superconductors. And that's why there weren't any cars and other issues that happened. So, yeah.
Yeah, and when you're distracted, you can't problem solve effectively.
Yeah.
And so, since you were distracted, you're out of the know. And because you're out of the know, then even when you're in the know, if there's not enough people to help solve the problem, well, then the problem just goes unsolved, or it's not solved in an effective manner to where, you know, there's a viable solution that ends up, you know, presenting itself. So, absolutely.
And to like add on what what you were saying about the haves and the have-nots and like how it's only going to get greater. I think that's why it's so important to be in a place where you can have the resources for you and your family and close friends, close relatives, and be in a space economically where you can all work together as a community.
No, yeah.
Because it's only going to get worse.
I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
120%.
You do need a strong community now, which is something that as America progressed, that's something that we really lost.
Yeah.
Was this sense of having a strong community and being able to, lift people up and really rear them and raise them in a proper way before they were, quote unquote, out on their own. They were never out on their own. They always had a community that they could go back to, even if they, moved away. And so now it's kind of like, hey, no, we're just releasing you to the wild, get out of my house. Or you take a job, across the country, and it's like, yeah, I'm still connected to my family, but nobody's necessarily really there for me.
Yep.
Nobody's really checking in on me. They might call me every now and then.
If something happened, you have no one to really talk to or call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so, let's get into some more of what Tucker has to say.
And that the people in power really do make the bulk of the decisions. And I say that after spending 35 years in Washington and watching the agenda of both parties and comparing that agenda to the public opinion polling of what people actually want and finding no union set. No union set. Like there's not the same agendas. And we have a democratic system where these people are elected every 2 years in the Congress, every 6 years in the Senate, every 4 years in the White House. And their agenda never changes. And the desires of the American public, by and large, are never met or even addressed. And you sort of, after a while, conclude maybe it doesn't matter what people want. It only matters what the people in power want.
Hold up.
Okay, Tucker.
Now he just
go off.
Yeah, Tucker.
Right?
Tucker
He
just
be
went off
going
there.
in.
So he's basically saying that, hey, like there is an agenda on the left and there's an agenda on the right, right? But then there's what Americans want and what Americans need, and they present it to both the left and the right, and the left and the right are like, spit in your face and say, nope, we're just holding these set of values. And the left is like, yep, we're going to hold these set of values, either get on board or don't.
Yep. So,
And since we've been essentially made to believe that they're the only two options by and large, and because they raise the money and they, get into, the homes of more Americans. And so most Americans are like, oh, these are the options, right? If you're not readily keeping up with it on a day-to-day basis and, understand how American politics works, to say like, oh no, like we really don't have to vote for these two parties or the candidates that these two present if we, collectively were like, hey, no, this ain't it. But since they've, raised the most marketing dollars, they
Vote for who you see a lot.
Yep, that they're going to continue to stay in power.
Yep.
And that's why when we're divided, we can't understand and we don't see the problem. Back to your, COVID example, is like, yep, we're all focused on COVID, and rightly so. COVID was a big thing that we needed to have addressed, but there was other issues going on that affected us long after COVID that didn't have to affect us for so long, because we were so honed in and worried about, exactly, what was going on. Alan had a great comment though, and he said, oh, that's the point, sorry. He said, there's an illusion of power currently, but we have power in numbers to demand whatever. Look at certain groups who are organized and passionate, like the Alphabet Crew. No, that's a great example.
That's very true.
I mean, that group, you have, the Jewish community is very strong.
Oh, very.
When we go play pickleball, like we play with a lot of Vietnamese people, and it doesn't matter. None of them are like related, but they all are like
always
very,
together.
very, close with each other,
Yeah, that's
and
great.
like, hey, come over to eat, do this, do that, and we're cool with them and everything.
Of course.
But that sense of, community within their, I guess, race is super strong, even though they're not like, directly related. And so I think that's a very powerful thing. And as the people of the United States, that's what we have to kind of get back to, is like, yeah, we all have different groups and this is a melting pot, which makes our country so beautiful. But at the same time, if we want things to change, well, then we all need to kind of get on board and head in at least a similar direction so that we can actually put forth and elect people that will serve our interest, right? And not, just elect the biggest marketing people that only serve of the interests of, the plutocrats,
right,
and the people in power.
Yeah.
And so Tucker's dead right.
To add on to that, I would say maybe even more important would be, as Christians, I think we need to do a better job at being a community for each other also, because yeah, we can like do it as people, as Americans, but like as Christians, like there's a bigger fight, I guess, technically, bigger fight for souls. So if we all come together and we're all in one accord, because right now, even as a church, we're divided. And I know this is a little off topic, but I feel like it's important. So like, even as a church, we're divided. But if we all came together, one accord, for the glory of God, and yeah, just came together, things for the country as a whole would come together better, in my opinion.
Yeah.
No, yeah, for sure. Like we're supposed to be the light in the world. We're supposed to be the salt of the earth, and we're supposed to be the people that are evoking change and influencing, the way culture should be. And by and large, we aren't, right? We're, fighting amongst ourselves over silly theology or over, this and that. And some of it is important, but it's not as important as our duty to, go out and change the world and propagate the gospel.
Yes.
So no, that is absolutely, absolutely paramount. Let's finish what Tucker has to say.
I don't want to think that, but I don't know what other conclusion to reach. So what you have now is a legit mass movement on behalf of Donald Trump that's 100% real, and you have absolute ironclad resistance to the democratic process working its way to a legitimate conclusion by the people who have all the power. What happens next? I don't.
He doesn't know. What happens next?
That's real.
Yeah.
Because
So
what happens next?
So now you're so divided that you have people who are like, no, we're getting behind this guy because he's going to be our champion, and other people are like, we hate that guy. He absolutely can't be our champion. We're going to present this guy, and then this side's like, no, we got our dog, and that dog, he literally can't even bark. He literally can't even bark. It's I'm not even sure if it's a chirp, but you see how divided we get, and the bigger issue is like, no, they're neither one are good. Yeah. Like it's like, hey, we need to scrap it all. We're fighting over silly things. We need to, get back to things that are going to directly affect people's day-to-day lives and not necessarily like their identity politics.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of the issue is the fact that we don't even know what our actual issues are.
The true issues.
The true issues,
yeah,
exactly.
We're fighting over the issue. And a lot of the issues that we're fighting over have been presented to us. They're not things that we have come up on our own.
Like gender.
Yeah, a lot of the things that the left presents is like, these are kind of secondary things if you think about it.
They're not things that hold up the foundation of the country, things that we actually need in order to survive and move on. Yeah, exactly.
Make us strong.
Exactly. I mean, if you guys want to focus on that secondary, fine. But we're in a place right now where those aren't things that we should be focused on.
No, absolutely. Now, shout out to Miss Luann Chamberlain in the house. She makes a great point. She says we also forget that they are servants and not our leaders. So yeah, you're a public servant.
Yes.
You are here at the behest of us.
Yeah.
Right? But yet all y'all do is serve your own self-aggrandizement and your own self-interest to further, increase your wealth and not the wealth and health of the general population. Yeah. And so, I mean, Yeah, she also had another comment as well. She said, yes, keeping us divided is a tool of the devil. Yeah.
Amen.
Still
Absolutely.
Divided
kill,
we fall.
still kill, destroy.
Yes.
And in all three of those instances, it's you're taking something away. You're divide, like that's what division is, you're taking something away or you're separating it from, the unity of it all. And so now we're going to get into Jordan Peterson had a different take on this that might shock you and might actually, in a way bring Tucker's, whole point home and give a more positive perspective. So let's take a look at that now.
And I don't think that power is where people think it is. I don't think that power is in the hands of the elite. The ability to manipulate, misuse power might be in the hands of the elite, but the power that we need to set the world straight is actually at your fingertips.
Amen.
This is actually a rather terrifying realization, because there's some relief in thinking that the elites can do whatever they want and there's nothing that someone as small as you could possibly do about it. And that's wrong because you're not small. And it's wrong because it's irresponsible to presume that. And it's wrong because the truth is more terrifying and also more liberating. And the truth of the matter is that if you utilized what you had at hand, which at least is the ability that you have at hand to say what you think truly and as clearly as you can, even if you're not that articulate, that the world would change around you in ways that would make you immune to the blandishments of the power-mongering elite.
Hold up.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, he just said a lot there. But one of the biggest things that I took away is that how many times in examples do we see of people just saying, well, they're just going to the elites are going to choose what they want, and we really don't really have power, so I'm not going to go out. And people use that excuse to say, I'm not going to go out and vote.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right? Which, if you don't want to vote, that's fine, but that shouldn't be your excuse.
Yeah.
It's like,
Right.
I don't matter. It's like, no, you do matter, right? So come up with a better, I guess, excuse for why you're not going to vote. And I think there's valid excuses for not going to vote, and a good strategy for not doing that if you choose to take that route. But you should always remember that, and this is something Jordan Peterson often says, is that you are more powerful than you think. You're always more powerful than you think. And I mean, think about like just the most powerful people in the world, like Oprah. Like, think about where she came from. Like, she wasn't really anybody. She built herself up. You can do the same thing, right? You have the power within you. And even if you don't become the next Oprah or the next billionaire, the next, somebody who we would deem as elite, right? You can do your part and you can become a part of a community that evokes change, right? You can be a part of the community that becomes the elite voice and that is more representative of what the people want. And that's what he's, getting at is like, hey, you do your part and you speak the truth as articulately as you can. And then Miracle does that and Kenya does that. And we come together and now there's power in the numbers. Like Alan was saying.
Yeah, let's go. Right?
Now there's power in the numbers. Like, Alan was saying earlier. Let me put that back up. He said, yeah, there's an illusion of power currently, but we have power in numbers to demand whatever. That is absolutely true.
It actually reminds me of this one scene in Bug's Life.
Okay.
Where
that's one of the greatest movies of all time.
Amazing.
Very much.
That's one of the greatest movies of all time.
And how they were ants, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, how the ants are basically being oppressed by the grasshoppers, right?
Right.
Hundreds of ants doing the work for these grasshoppers while there's like 12 to 20 grasshoppers at a time really making these ants do what they want. There's a scene in there where the grasshoppers are talking amongst each other and the ants, didn't meet their quota to give the grasshoppers their food, right?
Yeah.
And the grasshopper, minions are like, we'll make them do this or whatever. Like, everything will be fine. And the leader of the grasshoppers, I forgot his name, but he's like, no, if they realize that they have the numbers over us, we're done for. Like, it's over.
Right. Yeah.
So I think that speaks a lot to the true nature of where power is. It is in numbers. It is in where your focus is. But they like to keep us divided so that way we don't have a focus.
Yeah. Well, because the interesting thing is enough people have said we've had enough. But they're all divided between, okay, I've had enough, but I'm going to support this side. I've had enough, but I'm going to only support this side. But the truth of the matter is, it's like, yeah, we've all had enough. If we just all came together and let's forget about, whose side we're on. Let's focus on, one or two things that can unite us, which that's the problem, because people are like, no, you either affirm everything or you affirm nothing. And that's not a leftist talking point. That's a right talking point as well. It's like, no, he's not a real Republican,
all or nothing.
Not a real conservative. You're not a real liberal if you do this. It's like, wait a minute. It's like, I thought we were all human here. I thought we were all, sharing this experience of life.
What happened to free thought of ideas?
Exactly.
The free exchange of ideas.
Exactly. And so, Jordan Peterson is honing in on something very beautiful. Let's continue to watch what he has to say.
And I'm hoping that enough people will realize the power of their affinity with the truth, especially when it's allied with the will to aim up, to have the courage to speak that truth. And if enough people do that, then the terrible things that we're concerned about coming forward at us in the future will have no purchase whatsoever.
That's very true.
Something that all of this makes me think of how we do have the power at our fingertips. It's not just what we speak and like our actions. It's also going back to the economics of it all, like voting with our dollars.
Right.
That's a big thing. Like
it is.
For me personally, like I realize Starbucks does a lot of crazy stuff behind the scenes, and I had a lot of stock in Starbucks, and I was like, I can't support them. So it's like, even if something performs well, or even if you think this product is really good, if the company supports something that you don't agree with, you have to vote with your dollars also.
Yep.
No, that's super important, because people think voting stops and ends at the ballot. Yeah, at the ballot box. But it doesn't. It's through your day-to-day life, with the purchases that you choose to make, with even sometimes the schools you choose to enroll your kid in.
Oh yeah.
And
it's a big one.
And the people that you support on not just the federal level but a local level as well. And so it's super important that you're voting in your actions and everything that you do, right? And so that you're not just kind of just talking the talk. Oh, I checked the box.
Exactly.
I did my part. Like, no, that's akin to being, a lukewarm Christian. It's like, you're not really about it, are you?
No, you're not picking a side.
No, you just came to church on Sunday and Wednesday,
just
and I see you. I haven't seen any change in you.
You still act the same.
You still act the same, and
Where are your fruits?
I don't know your heart, but I see your fruits. Exactly. Yeah. And so, and that's what people are going. That's what it's going to take for people to change. Is like, it's got to be represented in your actions, or you haven't truly changed.
Yes.
Like, have you truly repented from this sin? If you just keep repeatedly falling back into that same sin, now it's iniquity. Is that not correct?
Oh God.
So yeah, and so that's a big thing that I think Kenya hit the nail on the head right there. Miss Chamberlain has another comment. She says, Christians also use the excuse that God is in control to do nothing. No, she's right on point. We forget the responsibility that God has given us, and financially, yes, being good stewards of what he has given us. Yeah, exactly. So I'm kind of going through the book of Acts on my own, and one of the biggest things with Acts was like, you're supposed to bring all of your possessions to the community and to the church, right? And so that the poorest in the community are lifted up, but then the wealthiest in the community aren't just, boisterous, don't have the opportunity to, I guess,
be excessive.
Yeah, express like totalitarian rule. That's what I was looking for over, everybody else. And it's not to say that they don't work hard for their money, right? You still have to, come in and you still have to work and you still have to be a part of the community, but everything is divided because they're on one united front.
Yes.
Right. And so as Christians, we've lost that, right? Because a lot of people just say, I'm getting mine, God is in control, you go do your own thing. And that's like, no, that's wrong. Yeah. Like you're not doing anything, because the whole point of church is to be a community, to be this body of Christ, right? To move as God would move, be in the will of God, and to, again, spread the gospel and to be the light of the world, to be the salt of the earth. And if we're not doing that, which in America, I would say, is not happening in the way that it should be, or in the way that it really could be, right? Because we're too focused on too many different things, putting on a show over here, this, theology isn't right over here, X, Y, and Z. And it's like, no, like we need to say, okay, base level, Jesus reigns. We're following the example of Jesus. We're trying to become more like Jesus in our day to day. Almost every Christian agrees on that. And it's like, okay, Catholic brother, let's go. Let's make something happen, right?
Yep.
Evangelical brother, Orthodox brother, let's come together. Let's make something happen. And that's why I respect Ruslan a lot, because he brings people from all different sects of the faith, and he just has a conversation with them. Yeah. And he may challenge, this little tiff here, but he's always looking and aiming to understand. And he breaks bread with these people. He invites them into a studio, and they hang out and they have fun. And that's what we need to be doing. Yes. Because when you actually look into a lot of these different sects of, Christianity, you'll realize when it looks like they're doing something that's like silly to us, if you actually dig into the meaning of, behind it, it's like, oh, okay, that actually makes sense. Yeah. Maybe it's not something that's truly necessary, but if that allows him and furthers his relationship with Christ, then yes, that's good. Now, there is some stuff in practices that I'm like, nah, no. Of course. No. But it's just to say that we shouldn't be so quick to to separate ourselves from other people, because a lot of times that's coming from a moralistic perspective, because we want to be like, oh no, they don't have it right, but my group has it right, and we're going to reign over us, which is exactly the problem that we're trying to solve, and exactly the antithesis of what, Jordan B. Peterson is saying. He's saying, no, speak your mind as articulate as possible, and let's come together, right? And then when we come together, okay, now we can make some change. All right. So that goes back to our quality sip as we conclude here. If you keep people divided, the plutocrats will continue to rule. So people, let's come together. Let's make it shake. And we'll be right back with some more quality content. Like with algorithm.
About that knee drop.
We're going to work through this track meet in Birmingham, get ready for the Nationals, and hope to put in a good performance.
Just making sure she pushes out of both legs out of the blocks and not just relying on one leg. Let's go do it.
What is up, people? Welcome back to the Quality, or no, this is the Weekly Tea. I forget what show. On Quality Entertainment. Hey, our Substack is coming soon. Make sure that you like for the algorithm. Because I'm here. Miracle's here. Kenya's here. We at 843 subs. So thank you for liking and sharing. And we're talking about how American culture is trash. It is trash. You know why it's trash?
Could be a number of reasons.
Just degenerate?
Degeneracy is at an all-time high.
Yeah.
It is.
That is something I can agree to. Now, divorce lawyer reveals why marriages fail. So,
I got a question.
Why do relationships fail? It's a very, very simple question. So, ladies, take it away. Why do relationships fail?
Poor communication, poor standards. There's way more answers, but those are my top two.
I will say a lack of understanding on what marriage is.
Oof.
Yes.
So what is marriage?
It's a union between a husband and a wife with God in the center of it all. And it's something that's meant to be together forever, no matter what the circumstances, unless it's cheating, of course.
Yes, it's supposed to represent the relationship Jesus has with the church.
Yes.
Now that sounds lovely, but I don't think that's what this divorce lawyer is going to say
at all.
So
No,
let's
probably.
listen to what.
But it stems from that.
Let's listen to what he has to say.
Reaching into a pile of hot coals to throw them at the other person. You may or may not hit them, but you're going to burn yourself for sure.
Hold on. I forgot that I couldn't cut this up. So we're going to take a pause really quick. Y'all talk about the marriage and why it's important to have a strong bond. And I'm going to get this queued up really quick.
Okay. Let's see.
Okay, why it's important to have a strong bond in marriage? Well, first of all, Satan doesn't want you to be married. So if you're not bonded appropriately in the proper order, it's going to be so easy to flick you guys apart because you guys aren't bonded together.
Yeah. I like what you said about order, because that's what it's about, and what you were describing about, the sanctity of a man and wife and becoming one flesh and bringing that unity into it. That is a type of order that God has already established in his kingdom to be, the representation of Jesus and the church and everything. And so, yeah, absolutely. When that bond is broken, it gives Satan the room to come in and do whatever he wants.
And a great movie about that is War Room. I know, Miracle, you haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
But
I still need to see it.
Amazing.
All right. So we got it queued up. Let's see what this divorce lawyer has to say.
Into a pile of hot coals to
Dang it, I accidentally hit restart. All right, continue. Sorry, guys.
But yes, whatever this lawyer is about to say, I think that regardless of the things he's about to say, it stems from the fact that people don't know what a marriage is or what it's supposed to represent, what's supposed to be in the marriage, which is why so many couples make divorce an option.
Yeah.
When you get married, divorce is not supposed to be an option, but they go in with that mindset like, okay, if I end up not liking this person, we can always get a divorce.
Yeah.
That was never supposed to be, of course, with exception to the few things that are outlined in the Word of God to allow for those circumstances. Other than that, divorce should never be an option. And even in those exceptions, sometimes never an option. If you're willing to
work through it.
Even cheating. I don't condone cheating on any level, but there are a lot of couples who have worked through that because they did keep God in the center of their relationship. They talked about what led up to that, and it maybe took years, but and maybe a lot of rounds of letting go of a lot of resentment towards, a lot of things going on, but they still worked through it. And so regardless, marriage is a thing that is supposed to last.
Yeah, even in those circumstances, and I do not condone cheating either.
Ever.
No. But even in those circumstances, just seeing how a couple works through it all
Yeah.
and comes out on the other end and they come out stronger, and just how they seek the Lord and they seek his guidance in their relationship moving forward, it's a beautiful thing.
It's very inspiring. It really is, especially when you can see it.
Yeah.
Like, not see it, but you can feel the transformation, you know, in their relationship. But yeah.
All right, I got it queued up now. We're good. Here we go.
I think they fail because people stop paying attention and people stop being grateful. You know, I think the best way to look at why things end is to look at how they started. And when a relationship starts, there's this tremendous period of like paying attention to each other and trying to impress each other with how much you're paying attention and how much you care about each other and how much you're noticing the other person. And there's also a tremendous sense of like overlooking the flaws of someone, right? Or even finding them charming. You know, when somebody has like a snort to their laugh, you know, it's like, oh, she's so cute. She has a little snort to her laugh. Whereas, you know, you're together for a bunch of years and it's like, what is this snort? What was that? You know, so you start to really, and I don't understand really why we do that in romantic relationships, because we don't do it in other kinds of relationships.
Hold up.
That is so true. I've always wondered that.
Yeah, it's
I've always wondered that.
Very interesting, right? How in romantic relationships, it's almost like there's different rules that we don't apply to other relationships, like friendships and even sometimes like acquaintances. Like we'll treat them better than we treat
our
the
spouse.
people that are supposed to be the person that's supposed to be the closest to us.
I do wonder if that is because a lot of relationships nowadays, they don't start off as friends. So they don't have that foundation of friendship to fall back on at the end of the day, because really that respect factor starts when you can see each other as a friend,
Right.
and then, you know, move beyond that.
Yeah, they're not trying to build as friends either.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, even with, or even if you date somebody and you're like, oh, they're cute and I would like to get to know them further, the first part of that is I would like to get to know them, right?
Yes.
Before it escalates into, okay, boyfriend and girlfriend or whatever that it blossoms into. The problem is now that most people are like, hey, you want to screw, basically.
Yep.
Do you want to play?
Yeah. You want to.
Insider.
you want to play. That's foul. That is crazy. You just want to play around.
Right.
It's like it's recess, like you're in 5th grade. That's crazy. Man. But yeah, that's one of the biggest issues is like, no, we just want to, you know, get off. And that's only, it's a very selfish way to go about life too. Cause it's like, you're not doing anything. You're not really there for that person.
Yeah.
You're just kind of using that person for your own gratification.
And I think that adds to the lack of respect you have for that person too, and why it's so easy to treat them that way after a while. Cause it's like, well, you're only here for my, you know, jump off, even though you're not consciously thinking that. But it's kind of like when you start off that way, it's kind of seeped into your foundation, and then you act off of that after a while.
Yeah, but you know, it's interesting. The way you treat other people, namely the person that's closest to you, is a reflection of the way you treat yourself.
Yes.
And so if you are treating other people as, you know, tools, essentially, just something to use, it's like that's the same way that you treat yourself. And you see that a lot with, unfortunately, a lot of young ladies who are, you know, doing things in the name of liberation and just sleeping around, and then they're treating themselves the same exact way by the way they dress and the way they present themselves to the world, and even probably the self-talk that they have. Like, I'm not in anybody's head, but, you know,
what comes out is reflected.
Yeah, exactly. And the way you treat yourself is a direct reflection of the relationship that you have with God. And if you're actually serving God and living to be of good moral character and striving to be more, you know, like Christ, more like an example that is higher than yourself, even if you're not, quote unquote, serving, you know, Christ. But that's a problem. A lot of people are like, take the satanic approach or the Satanist approach, where they're like, no, I am the world and everything is created out for me. The life I have is going to be created for me. And it's like, no, you can't just go around. I mean, well, you can, but you see the result is, you know, just filth and degeneracy.
And you'll be lonely at the end of your life.
Right.
You just will.
And so, yeah, I mean, that gets us into our quality sip. It's like relationships fail because we lack servant hearts.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's like, again, we're only there for our, self gratification, and we're not truly there to understand and to really get to know a person and to share this beautiful experience of life with them. It's only like, hey, I'm just going to pretend to be interested. I'm going to do this so I can get this.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's not even reciprocity, right? It's more like you're a parasite at the end of the day, right? Because you're just kind of, given a little bit of rope so you can take, twice as much, So very, very, very sad. Let's hear what James Sexton has more, or what more he has to say.
When you've had your kid for 5 years, you don't go like, oh, this freaking kid, like I gotta get a new one, or you don't have like a dog.
Some people do.
Anybody who's a dog,
true.
like if you have your dog for 10 years, you're not like, oh, I've had this dog, I gotta get a puppy, man. They're so much cuter and fuzzier. Like you go, oh my God, it's my dog. Like I've had it for 10 years. I love that dog. Relationships were very quick to just stop being grateful for the value the person brings to our life. We're very quick to stop noticing that they're even there and that they're what they're there for. And then we stop being kind to each other. We stop being attentive to each other. And I think relationships are all about little things. I think it's.
Now, before he gets into that, big thing that he said was that we basically forget to appreciate the people while they're there. And then thus they become almost invisible to us. Like their contributions to our lives, what they do in our lives becomes invisible to us, which is why it's important to always express your gratitude for, what people do for you. Like, I mean, my mom, makes me food or whatever, and she's made me food a million times in my life. I always tell her thank you, because like, in all honesty, you never know if that's going to be the last meal that you eat from her. But also, it's just to express that, man, like, there's so many people whose moms wouldn't cook for them and
know how to cook,
or even know how to cook, right? And I'm grateful to be living in the same city where I have this relationship with my mom that's good enough to where, Kenny and I could go over there for dinner, or if I'm not doing anything for lunch and she's, working from home that day, they'd be like, oh, yeah, stop by. Oh, I'll make you, a sandwich or something. It's like, man, that's great. Not a lot of people have that. So you should be grateful for the contributions that people make into your life. And you should always express that gratitude whenever you get a chance, because you never know when it's going to be gone, when it's going to be taken from you, which is even sadder. And so you don't necessarily miss some things until it's gone. Right?
Yeah.
All right, let's continue.
All about little courtesies and little compliments and little ways of, like, if you talk to most people about their love life, they will remember giant things, like when we went on this vacation or when we had this candlelit dinner on the beach, these dramatic gestures, because those are super interesting stories. But really, love is like little day-to-day things. It's just like finance. Finance is not, is there the person that bought this crypto at this price and then suddenly they're a billionaire? Sure, that's the exception, not the rule. Most of the time, it's just a grind and a grind and a grind.
Right.
The first million's the hardest, and then once you got that, if you're smart about it and disciplined as an investor, you're going to be fine. You do really well. But it's.
Yeah, so basically that's all I wanted to show was it's about the small things, right? So something Kenya often says is like, oh, I like doing the little small mundane things with you. I'm like, yeah.
Why is that my voice?
Oh my God.
That's literally
is that her voice?
Why is that my voice? Why is that my voice? See, that's what you just said.
I don't think so, because even Miracle is like, is that your voice?
I don't think so, because even Miracle is like, is that your voice?
Okay, that one was kind of good.
I mean.
Okay, I'll give you the last one.
Last one, yeah, exactly. Yeah. That was funny. But no, that's true. I mean, like, I remember, like, when Alan asked me to be his girlfriend, he had, like, a little, like, card that he gave me. And it was, like, handwritten. And kind of ugly, but it's so cute. But it's so cute. But it's so cute. Oh my God! Shots fired! I love it. He knows I love it. But it's like you can tell he put in all this work into it to ask me to be his girlfriend, and I just love it. And I have it in my little box of mementos. Like it's like ugly cute.
Yeah,
like
like when a little kid makes something for you.
Exactly.
Alan, you better light her up for this.
He'll get me back for something.
Tough. Okay. I do understand it. It is. Yeah, I carry around all the little notes that Kenya has in my little notebook that I have, leather bound, and it's all in this little. What?
I didn't know you keep my note.
That's so cute.
Why wouldn't I? And then there's one that's all permanently right there, So I always see it when I'm working or whatever. So yeah.
I
always see her.
I keep all your notes too. They're all on my mirror.
Yeah,
See,
she
guys,
like has like a
things.
post-it thing of and so that's what like sustains relationships when you're constantly reminded, and maybe you're having a bad day, or maybe you've been feeling a little distant from your partner, and then you see, oh no, this is how they really feel about me, rather than saying like, oh, do they even care, or something of that nature.
Or if they do something that makes you mad, and you look at it and you're like, okay, it's not that big of a deal.
Right, exactly.
It's like I'm gonna pick my battles.
Right.
It's not that serious.
I mean, yeah. And so it's all about the small things, and like our quality sip says, relationships fail because we lack a servant heart.
Yeah.
And when you're really there, being attentive and attuned with that person, well, then it's the little things like, the notes or the card, and, doing the mundane things in life that really matter. And I think the divorce lawyer, he's seen his fair share of failed, marriages and relationships, and even went through a divorce himself. And so that is why he's able to, give us some wise counsel. And so we will be back with some more counsel, more wise counsel, more quality counsel right after this break. So stay tuned on the Quality Entertainment Network.
Like with algorithm. Amen.
Hey guys, welcome to the Conscious Outlet Podcast. We are officially a part of the Quality Entertainment Network, and we are so happy to be here. I'm Miracle Monique.
And I'm Alan J.
And we're here to discuss the intersection of culture, faith, media, so we can inspire some practical solutions to some huge societal challenges that we're facing today. So let's work together to get this done.
Okay, we back. It's the weekly tea. We got Miracle Monique. We got Kenya Mack in the house. Welcome to the weekly tea. Substack coming soon. Woo. Join our private Facebook group. We'll let you in on the Quality group. And follow Quality Entertainment on Instagram. Make sure that you like for the algorithm. Because Christians need money. Who would have thought Christians need money? God did. That's funny. Now, a lot of people, and a lot of Christians in particular, will say, no, the love of money is the root of all evil. You can't serve God and mammon, which means money, essentially wealth, the things of this world. To that, what should we say?
I mean, it's okay to have resources to fulfill the purpose that God has for you to fill pertaining to spreading the gospel.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it?
That's perfect.
Okay. Well,
I got a question.
Do Christians need money, though, to propagate or spread the gospel? Do we need it?
Do you need it?
Do you need it to spread the gospel? No.
Not necessarily.
But there are ways in which that it is necessary if you're going to be doing it in a specific way.
Trips,
right.
Like mission trips.
Exactly. You need money for that.
Money to do that. Unless someone just sponsors your trip for you, but
that still requires money from their side.
Yeah.
You know? So.
Yeah. And so I think my thing is that it's not the money that you necessarily need, it's what the money represent, which is the resources, right? And so when you look at how Jesus and the disciples were traveling, wow, they always had resources because they were always able to stay in people's homes.
True.
They always had a place where people would feed them, or, I mean, they could feed themselves because they would get out on a boat and go fishing on their own. And so they had the necessary resources and people, which are also resources for you, to help further, the gospel and to spread it. And so I think that in our day and age and in our culture, it's a lot different from, what they were going through. Like you just said, like if you want to be a missionary, which is similar to essentially what Jesus and the apostles did, like it costs money. That's just the world and the environment that we live in. And so you do need money, but we also have to understand and realize that we can't serve money. So
That's true.
we're going to go to a YouTuber. And her name is Allie Drummond from The Real Femme Sapien. And she wrote a Substack article, and it's a pretty good article, really good article. And it's basically why Christians need to basically make money. And so I have a couple of excerpts from that article. But before we get into that, we want to put up our quality sip. Can you please read that?
Christians need money, but what we need more is a united community and moving in the will of God to evoke change in the world. Yeah, that's kind of similar to what I was saying in our previous segment, talking about how we need a community of believers together, and we're all
kind of on the united front, moving towards the same goal.
Front.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. So so let's get into some of this article. So I just got some little excerpts that I thought were interesting from the article. And hey, Allie, you want to come on? You're way bigger than us. We're kind of insignificant, but we'd love to have you.
We're
so
not
that'd be cool.
At all.
In the grand scheme of like YouTube.
Not in the eyes of the Lord.
Well, I mean, hey there, but
we doing the work.
We're in the world right now. We're in the world of YouTube. So, but yeah, let's get into this. Not the reaction. Here we go. It says money is. Let me remove that. So, money is power. Money without God doesn't heal a spirit, and God without money doesn't win elections. I look at finances from a Christian lens that I am to be a good steward of cash capital, but how on earth are conservatives to have any influence over the political landscape at no financial and physical cost to themselves? What do y'all think about that? So I would say I think my first reaction is that money without God doesn't heal a spirit. I think that's wrong because I think that a spirit can be healed.
Yeah, I had to read those first two
without
lines
money
again.
But God without money, that the second part is an absolute bar. Because if you just have God and you're just running around parading like, oh, we're just going to do the Lord's work and the Lord will be sovereign over all. Like, that's not going to win you an election. Like, there's plenty of people that do that. But that's not going to win you an election because you do need resources and you do need to put in the work to go out and be like, hey, like, vote for me. You got to have the boots on the ground. And I think that's what the heart of what she's getting at is a lot of Christians. It's similar to what Miss Chamberlain said earlier, is a lot of Christians to say, God is in control, and they use that as an excuse to do nothing.
Yes.
And no, it's like we are called to do something. We're called to spread the gospel. And it just so happens in this world, we do need money because money is power in our world to garner the resources and to, build the community so that we can move and operate more like the apostles. Because imagine if we just all came together, right? And it doesn't necessarily mean that one individual has to be, rich. Now in America, maybe a little different story. But imagine if we all had a connected web of believers that were all connected. And so every time I went to I don't know, St. Louis or a different out of state, I had somewhere to stay. Or I had a group of people that, oh, don't worry about meals, don't worry about this. You come stay with me. Like going to your auntie's house or something like that. That's how they were functioning, because they were all on one accord and they were all serving at the will of God. And that's what we're missing nowadays, because we're so far removed from, what the apostles, stood for and represented, that even in our differences, we can't come together. Because, Peter and Paul, they weren't always united on the same front, but right at the end of the day, they were still like, no, we still got to get this message out, and we still got to be boots on the ground, and we can't just go around saying, Lord over all, Jesus is King, all the buzzwords. We can't go around saying that. We got to show it, right? We got to show it in the way that we walk, and even how we overcome our confrontations.
Yes.
And so. Yeah, so I think that was the excellent excerpt. Do you have anything to add?
I would say, God likes order. At the end of the day, when you're called to do something and it does require resources, He will provide those resources and make those things known for you so that you can be able to fulfill that purpose that He has set for you. So yeah, resources are definitely necessary for it. I mean, yeah.
All right, let's get into another excerpt. Christians must start making money and taking it seriously. We can have no influence in legislation, politics, or media without doing so, or at least championing a cause. This is why I do not support Christian conservative streamers unless their money ends up in the hands of political campaigns or they are getting involved locally. I love and adore Lila Rose from Live Action, but is it better to... I don't think I got... I think I cut that one off short. Yeah, that one got cut off short. But basically, she just kind of goes on to say, hey, she has great points, but what where's her fruit, essentially? What is she doing except going around and just talking, which I would have to disagree, because awareness is important. A drug, and it could be the catalyst that sparks somebody going to really take action and really unify.
That's where it starts.
And doesn't she go to college campuses and stuff, which requires
I believe so.
Funding to do so? To travel around and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, but I mean, she could be doing it on her own dollar, but I think she also, I'm not sure if she works for a nonprofit.
I'm pretty sure
super
she owns
familiar.
Her nonprofit. Live Action is the nonprofit that she
owns. That is okay. So she's the head of Live Action, or the creator of it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well then, yeah, I mean, I think they're, doing things. I think what Allie's getting at though is hey, if we want to see, change more on this federal level and get some of this just debauchery out of here, just straight, I don't even know what to call it. Just the war between the right and the left that's just not really going anywhere, and get all of these just ancient fossils out that everybody complains about, but nobody seems to, vote out of office. If we're going to do that, we have to put our money where our mouth is in that regard.
And I agree with that. Just thinking about the show Billions and Bloodline, anything like that. I do think it's important to economically be able to put money towards whatever you think is important.
Right.
Not just political campaigns or whatever the case is, but being able to be on the back end and, I don't want to say move pieces, but being able to really exude power over the decisions that are being made. So I agree with that. I just think some of her wording is weird.
Yeah, I can agree with that, because I do agree that there should be a level of putting your money where your mouth is, like you were saying. At the same time, it doesn't have to always be on what's considered a political level. It could be something as, what isn't political nowadays, or what's considered political? Because it could just simply be, maybe you serving on the streets, giving away clothes or food to people, or maybe tutoring students of low income families, whatever God has called you to do in addition to, you being a Christian live streamer or whatever. So
yeah,
the political part I'm having trouble with, just because I don't consider that to be the only gateway towards change. And so that's where I'm having the hard time, because there are other avenues you can take. So
right.
Yeah.
No, yeah, and there is a real value in changing the hearts and minds of people, because then inevitably that changes the direction of people's actions
Society,
as a
yeah.
whole. And so, yes, putting a person that is a leader in a powerful, office, that'll help, because people will see that and, aspire to change. But also doing work on the ground level of saying like, hey, like, we need to collectively change, especially if you don't have the money, because it's like, yeah,
Exactly.
you can work to become a millionaire, may or may not happen, but, give what you can to these campaigns, or, so on and so forth. But ultimately, the real change is like, are you connecting with people in a day-to-day life and being a community and really affecting how people, view the world? And is that view that they're adopting from you a more Christ-like view? So I would say like the biggest things and the highest compliments that I ever get is when people are like, hey, like, you helped me become a better Christian. Like, one of my players said that to me this past summer, and I was like, dang, like that's better than,
That's deep.
I love it.
yeah, that's better than anything that I can teach you in the game of baseball.
Yeah.
Because if my, walk through life is helping you to become a better Christian and giving you a greater perspective, that's going to help you to, vote this way. That's going to help you, help other people in the same manner that I was able to help you, which is the groundwork that needs to be done. It's like, yeah, the money, absolutely. We do need more Christians in a powerful political office if we really want to change these big policies, right? But also on the flip side, we need people on the ground level, like just changing people's values. And I think Allie does a really good job of this just with her YouTube channel, because it's more aimed at, women. But I mean, as a man, I like watching her because she thinks very logically. And I'm like, oh, how do women think? And she's able to convey it in a very simple way. And I'm like, oh yeah, interesting perspective.
Check out her channel too.
Interesting perspective. So yeah, at The Real Fem Sapien. Let's take a couple more looks at some of the excerpts. I'm eagerly anticipating the moment when I can contribute my initial $50,000 to a pro-life clinic or support a local campaign.
That's awesome.
The satisfaction I
Yeah.
anticipate from witnessing that transaction successfully go through is beyond imagination. I bet it feels like saving lives.
I would agree with that, because I have goals and dreams to do stuff similar to that too. So I would agree.
Same.
With that.
Same.
No, yeah,
Yes.
and I think having that goal is a noble pursuit, right? But you also, there's a very fine line, right, where it's like, hey, make sure that your priorities are straight as far as, who you are serving. And I think she'll be fine, but this is just more of a warning to anybody who's like, oh, see, like, you can't be Christian and be a millionaire. It's like, wait, hold up. Let's not say those things like they're, on the same level. It's like, no, serve Christ, get yourself together, get your house in order, get focused on the task at hand, and then your goals are secondary to that. Because even in, this little excerpt, she's like, I'm eagerly anticipating when I can do that. It's like, yeah, I'm not able to, and in a sense, that's okay. I'll keep doing what I'm doing, but I'm eagerly waiting for, what God can do to my life. And I'm working towards that, right? It's not this, oh, this is something I want and God is in control. I'm doing nothing. That's the excuse to do nothing. No,
But no, I'm
she's
working
actually,
towards that.
putting in the work. And that's why she's, started like this little e-commerce business that she has, which I think is also a very noble pursuit as well. So a couple more excerpts. She says, I received reports that many Ohio voters were visited by pro-abortion activists twice, but never by pro-life activists. I live in a different state, but in my own neighborhood where there are plenty of God-fearing Christians and two-parent families, doors were not knocked on. And so this is what she's getting at, is saying like, hey, if I have, money and resources, I can pay people to be like, to go boots on the ground, knocking on these doors, because the other side, they're doing that.
That's what they do. Yeah.
Yeah, like when I was in college, I was like an intern for an environmental, not company, but environmental activist group or whatever. And then after that was over and I got to learn about, knocking on doors, doing petitions, asking people to sign petitions. And then I was curious about the more conservative side of things and how they did things. It's very interesting to see the funding difference and then also see the amount of work put in. So it's similar to what she's saying about the pro-abortion people going to doors and then the pro-life not going to doors. It's very interesting to see.
Yeah, I've always felt that way about like the left and the right in general. It seems like the left has always
done a lot.
Lack of a better phrase, done the work to push their agendas forward, while the right is just fighting the left.
Yeah.
Instead of pushing their own
there.
values and agendas forward.
Or like doing something
about what they believe in.
Right.
I don't see any counterculture to the culture.
Yeah.
So I agree with that.
Yeah. And I think that's the heart of what she's getting at with this whole article, is saying, hey, we need people who are going to do and not people that are going to talk.
Yeah.
Right. But doing's not just necessarily, hey, I have a bunch of money.
Yeah.
Let me throw it at you, which I think there's a place for that. And so that's why I say hers is a noble pursuit. Like for me, at least in this point in my life, my doing is like, hey, I'm a baseball coach and we have Bible study. When we have tournaments, they're on the weekends, right? People can't go to church, but we have Bible study. I mean, it's optional, but we always have a good crowd of our players come, and we, fellowship with them, and we, talk to them, and we, study with them. And it's not a lashing of the Bible, but it's like, hey, like, how do we actually apply this to our lives, right? The other thing we have is this, right? We're starting to get more into, my cousin came down, who's a pastor. He's actually my mom's age, so he's kind of like my second cousin. But anyway, he came down. We had Bible study the last 2 weeks at my mom's house where, we had food and it was just a nice Bible study. So what was it, Monday? It was me, Kenya, her friend Amani, and my mom along with him. And it was just good. We got to talk. We talked the Bible, but then after the Bible, we talked just about, life in general as it pertains to, walking this experience out as being a Christian and, what change would look like. And you get greater perspective. And, it just feels good to be in an environment where, maybe you don't always see eye to eye, but you're in a, I hate the term safe space, right? I don't want to use that term, but you're in an environment where, people are really there to hear you out and to have your back, even when, they may not see eye to eye, right? So I think that's beautiful. We got one more excerpt to go. She says, do you want to bring God back into our schools and governments? Well, you better register for a local election, knock on some doors, and start leaving donations. And if you won't do that, you better get out of the way of people who are doers. And so, the left is full of doers, right? They will go out there, they will scream the loudest. They obviously scream the loudest.
They'll hiss also.
So people with your shared values, like what are they doing? So Christians, what are we doing? Are we knocking on doors? Are we doing stuff outside of, or outside of our churches, not outside of Christianity, but outside of our churches? Like, when we go to pickleball, like maybe we could be a little bit better about, hey, what church you go to, yada, yada. Like, what are you thinking here? What are you thinking there?
And be better
And you kind of inevitably get, and it's not even necessarily like, do you serve Jesus?
Right.
Like, it's not that. It's just like
But
talking. It's about talking about,
Yes.
the values and the conversations. Like yesterday we were at a pickleball or last night I was at pickleball, and somebody made a joke about self-identifying as something, and I just thought it was hilarious. I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. Because I mean, you're playing a game, you don't really have politics involved, but then you kind of know like, oh, like, okay, maybe we can talk about, more things in pickleball if the opportunity presents itself. There's no need to, shove context where context doesn't need to be shoved. But, that's how you can really, start to change people, because they might be like, oh, why would you ever think that? And it's like, well, let me tell you. And because you've developed this, relationship through the game of pickleball or by coaching or in the community, well, then you're able to have that conversation.
That's so true.
Go ahead.
And I think your mom does a really good job of that. And also, of course, Pastor Ron, he does a good job of that. Like just being able to bring up a sentence related to Jesus. I feel like that's something I want to get better at. Just being able to like bring him up.
Me too.
Not necessarily like, hey, in your face, but like, oh yeah, praise God. Just like,
right.
I got a point on the pickleball court. Praise God.
Yeah.
Rather than like, okay, cool.
You do say, okay, cool.
Exactly.
But yeah,
same.
If we want to, my buttons aren't working. Okay, there it goes. Okay. If we want to, evoke change, then we got to be the doers of that change. One more time for our quality sip. Christians need money, but what we need more is a united community moving in the will of God to evoke change in the world. So that means people with money doing exactly what Alia said. That means, community, like people who are positive influences in the community, because there's not enough of those people who we can say, oh, good Christian man, I want to be like him, right? A lot of those people are hiding now because they don't want to get canceled, or they don't want their fear of losing their job. It's like, no, be bold in your faith, because you have the Holy Spirit. When we come back, we're going to be talking about parenting, some bad parents, some good parents, and all of the above. So stay locked in to quality.
Like without rhythm.
Amen.
Hey guys, welcome to the Conscious Outlet Podcast. We are officially a part of the Quality Entertainment Network, and we are so happy to be here. I'm Miracle Monique.
And I'm Alan J.
And we're here to discuss the intersection of culture, faith, media, so we can inspire some practical solutions to some huge societal challenges that we're facing today. So let's work together to get this done.
What is up, quality people? Welcome back to We're Having a Good Time on the Weekly Tea. It's me, Miracle Monique, Kenya McIntosh. Thank you. We got a super chat. Wait a minute. Mr. Alan J says, the greatest podcast out there, and the best producer and co-host, this channel and the Conscious Outlet going to the top. Make sure you,
amen,
because we going up. And we got
Dang, I wish I had that on
a
my
Substack.
I know.
We got a Substack coming soon. If you want to go and be an early, I guess, subscriber to the Substack, then the Substack's called The Art of Practical Religion. And so we're going to be doing more in-depth breakdowns of what you see on this channel. We're going to be doing, greater think pieces. You can solely, just subscribe and get emails directly from the Conscious Outlet, directly from Faith and Beyond, directly from Profitable Conversations, or you can get them all and have like an overarching subscription and, get all the messages, because we're going to try to help you stay encouraged. And it's just another place to build community. So there will be free just articles and content on there. But starting April 15th, there will be some exclusive things that are going to be for paid subscribers as well. It'll only be like $7, I think. So, I mean, if you can pay for Netflix, you can pay to stay encouraged. We're gonna have exclusive podcasts on there, exclusive videos and different things of that nature as well. So, the art of practical religion. All right, let's get into our next topic. So, a new study says liberal parents are not ideal. So,
surprising.
You're telling
Shocker.
me. I got a question. Are liberal parents perpetuating developmental issues among the youth? So you hear the youth always talking about like depression's up and the thoughts of wanting to end themselves is up, and they're just dealing with so much. And I think it's because in a lot of cases, more progressive parents tell them that they have a bunch of stuff to worry about. They got to worry about climate change. They got to worry about Donald Trump. They got to worry about, I don't know, the dog not eating, meat.
Oh, yeah.
But it's like the dogs eat meat, guys, and so do humans. Surprising, shocker.
Ooh.
And so they're worried about all these different things that it causes this unnecessary anxiety among youth when really they just need to be kids. They just need to be kids. What do you think about it? Are liberal parents perpetuating developmental issues among the youth?
Yes. The youth are confused. That's why they have all these issues going on and all these self-deletion going on, because they don't know what they're supposed to do or who they're supposed to be or how they're supposed to operate in this life. They're confused.
Absolutely. I mean, we name like every non-positive emotion a mental ailment. Oh, you're confused, you're sad, you're angry. Oh, you have this condition. We got it. You have this condition. Let's drug you up. Like, this is what you have. You have ADHD. You got bipolar disorder. You're autistic a little bit. You're on the spectrum.
Right.
Like, they think anytime you're outside of the realm of happiness and you're not feeling happy in that moment, that it has to be some kind of mental illness, because otherwise you're supposed to be happy all the time.
Yeah, it's like happiness. Like happiness is almost like a drug, you know? And it's like, no, happiness is an emotional state, and sometimes you can't always just be happy.
No, you're
and
human.
That's why, and the phones contribute to this as well because of the addiction to trying to get this hit of dopamine. And it's like, I got to keep going back, and that's not helping as well, because then when their level of dopamines aren't up and they're not like having that high essentially, then they feel like something is wrong, right? They feel low. And so, yeah, I think it's a vicious cycle. So let's get to our quality sip. Parenting is the foundation for the future of humanity. And if it isn't successful now, our future is dark. So, I mean, the foundation of the future is always the children, right?
Yep.
And if they're not being brought up properly, if they're not being brought up in a way that's going to lead to flourishing, then the future is going to be dark. It's not going to be light. And so let's get into this clip. I believe it's by The Hill, where, they talk to, this, I don't know exactly what his title is, but they talked to this guy who has done a study, and some shocking results came from this study.
How's your mental health these days? Well, that might
That's
depend
good.
on how
Thank you.
conservative your parents are. A new report from our next guest, Jonathan Rothwell, indicates that on a number of vectors, conservative parents perform better with their children than their liberal counterparts, leading to better mental health results for their kids. Rothwell writes, parental political ideology is a strong predictor of parenting style. Liberal parents had the lowest scores, meaning they were the least likely to endorse items indicating warm, disciplined parenting. Just 40% of liberal parents scored above average on the index, whereas 71% of very conservative parents and 56% of conservative parents did. As with parenting practices, political ideology and attitudes towards marriage are also strongly predictive of parent-child relationships. Very conservative parents, on average, enjoy the strongest relationships with their adolescent children, and liberals experience the worst. The difference is large and statistically significant at 95% confidence levels.
Ooh.
Conservative parents are 8 percentage points more likely to be in a good relationship with their adolescent child than liberal parents, and the gap is 14 percentage points between very conservative and liberal parents.
I mean, that's crazy right there.
Very telling.
It's so like people who are raising their kids to be, more conservative, they have stronger relationships, hey Sonic, with their children because they're more active and in tune with, what their children needs rather than how their child is feeling, right? Because when you're so focused on how are you feeling, you're not happy, let me make you happy, here's some Skittles. It's like, no, my mom's like, no, you don't need those Skittles, right? You had too much candy today. Or, just different things of that nature that aren't taking place with more liberal parenting. It's more about, the feelings of the child and how they feel, what they want to be. And it's like, no, you're supposed to be molding this child into what they can become, right? But there's a pathway forward. You can't just, let them paint on a canvas because children have no direction, right? They're blank canvases, but they need to be, shown like, hell no, this is like, this color goes with this color, and this is how you paint a straight line, and this is how, shapes and things of that nature, right? Which is not happening, I think, in a lot of, liberal households. So.
Go ahead.
No, yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I hear all the time where I'll hear liberal parents say something like, yeah, we're letting our children lead us. Like,
yes,
I hear that so much. And I'm like, that's the complete opposite. That's how I know it came from Satan. Because that's the complete opposite of literally what the word teaches, which is to lead and guide your children so that, you can lead them towards him. And so I hear it all the time. And there's even so many examples of where these liberal parents are like taking away even more pieces of the foundation of who their children are and where they're supposed to go, from taking away their choice to even know what their sex is. Or I've even seen liberal parents not give their child a name until their child wants to give themselves a name. And it's like when you start off with these things, you plant confusion and a path of longing and wandering for this child to be seeking some type of foundation for themselves for years to come, instead of starting off that way where you can already have God is my foundation. This is who I am. This is who he made me to be. Everything else stems from that. Instead of having to start from the ground up, literally trying to pick up the pieces of your life in every way possible. I mean, no wonder these kids have anxiety and depression. They don't know anything about themselves.
Yeah, they have too much to worry about. Like I said, like that name thing is crazy. What do you mean? You're untitled? Like you put untitled on your name card?
I think the United Kingdom allows that, I believe. I think the United Kingdom, the UK, I think they allow that.
Doesn't make
it's
any
someplace
sense.
that allows that. Yep.
So what are you supposed to call that child?
I know.
Child.
Right?
That makes no sense. But yeah, you hit the nail on the head. It's like they have no sense of who they are, and when you don't have a sense of who you are, then you can't be anything. Because you don't have a starting point, right? So of course you can't nail your focus on any destination in sight. It's like all the destinations are in sight, and then you don't know which way to go.
Yep.
You're just roaming around aimlessly.
Yep.
You have anything, Kenny?
The discipline part was interesting. And it made sense. Of course, like a liberal parent would probably stay far away from disciplining their child because they want their child to do whatever they want, go with the wind. And it kind of makes me think of the gentle parenting
That's what I was thinking.
wave that, I don't know if that's still a thing, but I know that there was a wave of gentle parenting. And a lot of parents that did do it, they were like, yeah, that wasn't a good idea.
Oh, God.
So it makes sense that conservative parents on the discipline front are better parents based on the statistics.
Absolutely.
Rothwell's research led him to conclude that adolescents with very conservative parents are 16 to 17 percentage points more likely to be in good or excellent mental health compared to their peers with very liberal parents.
Hold up.
So you're saying that conservative kids are in better health mentally than, kids that are being brought up in a liberal household. That's
Makes
what I
sense.
just heard.
Yeah.
Now, one of the issues is there's more currently at the moment, I believe there's more liberal, kids or liberal households because of, just the wave of everything. But now they're not really having kids. Now more conservatives are having kids. So
Well,
you'll
good
probably
end with
see,
them.
but that's how kind of the nature of, the United States has gone. It's like, oh, more conservative. And
Yep.
then everybody's like, no, we need to go more liberal. And then it's like liberal. And then it just, ebbs and
Pendulum always
flows like that.
swings.
Yeah. Yeah.
Only 55% of adolescents of liberal parents reported good or excellent mental health compared to 77% of those with conservative or very conservative parents.
Here now to discuss his findings is principal economist with Gallup, Jonathan Rothwell. Welcome to Rising. Thanks for joining us. Let's start by breaking down why exactly this might be. You point out that conservative parents are more likely to adopt what has previously been referred to as an authoritative parenting style. First, what is an authoritative parenting style, and why do you think it is conservative parents and very conservative parents in particular that might be more likely to take on that style?
Well, the style is characterized by demandingness and warmth or responsiveness. Those are the two dimensions. Demandingness or lack of demandingness is one dimension. The other is warmth or coldness. And this style was developed in the psychology research literature by Diana Baumrind, Eleanor Maccoby, and other psychologists in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. It's been documented through hundreds of studies since that this style is highly predictive of depression, anxiety, and other forms of mental illness. And the optimal style is called authoritative by Baumrind, and that combines the expectations and high demands that a parent brings when he or she disciplines and enforces rules and regulations with the warmth and responsiveness that comes with child-centeredness.
I mean, that's... Okay. There we go. Okay. I mean, that's just it, because you don't want to have an authoritarian parent that is cold on you. That's like, hey, I demand this, and even if you don't live up to the expectations, they just want nothing to do with you. But then on the flip side, you don't want to have somebody who doesn't demand anything of you, that's more like your friend, but then it kind of just goes cold. Because maybe they're jealous of you. Maybe they wish they were younger, right? Which is
Seen that.
probably a symptom of what, if you don't establish that dynamic of, hey, I'm the parent, you're the child.
Yes.
My mom always told me, hey, yeah, we're cool and everything, but I'm your mom at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
And you will respect me. And she gave me expectations of what I was to be. And I was, yes, there's pressure because you want to please your parents and you want to please the people you look up to make sure that you accomplish those or fulfill those expectations. But at the end of the day, if I fell short or if I wasn't on track, then I was always greeted with warmth.
Yes.
I was always like, hey, no, like, it's okay. I know, and I really want you to do this, but let's, figure out a pathway back. And that's not just parenting, that's any leadership style.
Yep.
Right? Because think about an effective boss, effective CEO. They have to do the same thing. If they don't demand things from their workers, then the company's not going to be successful. But if they demand things from their workers and then, their workers fall short and they just blow up at them, well, then now you don't have a good work environment. So people are going to be so on edge that they're not going to get anything done, and your company is going to fall apart because the culture is not going to be there. When you establish this culture of great expectation, but also a good place to grow for growth, because I'm allowing you to be you, and I'm here to help develop you even when you fall short, then that is a good environment for kids especially, but for, just in general, like a business to be successful. And so
Yeah, I think it's kind of funny that the style that works the best is very similar to how God treats his children. It's like, of course, authoritative, but also very warm, and there's grace and there's mercy, but also there's correction in a way where we can grow and learn and transform to be better people for his kingdom. So
absolutely.
That's awesome.
Amen. I like that.
So if I were to explore some kind of relationship between sunburns and human behavior, I could find in the data, if I conducted research, that it seems that everyone who ate ice cream one day ended up having a sunburn. And then I concluded that maybe eating ice cream causes sunburns. I would be overlooking the fact that people tend to eat ice cream when they're outside in the sun enjoying a warm day, and it's actually the sun that causes sunburn.
Where she's going.
What, if any, confounding variables did you look into in the research here that conservatives may be more likely to not report when they're experiencing mental health problems, that it's a part of the culture to either not recognize mental health problems as real or to sort of mask them to seem strong? What variables did you look into other than parenting style that could explain this correlation?
Come on, land the plane.
With conservative parents and high reported mental health status.
Ooh, the word salad.
All right.
The word salad.
Before she lands
Why
it,
did she give such an example like that?
Because
so extra.
What's that phrasing? Correlation
does not equal
causation.
No,
that's what she's getting
that's what
at.
she was hitting at. All she had to do was
like,
say correlation.
That's all she had to
How
say.
do you know that correlation doesn't equal causation in this case?
That's all she had to
Right.
say.
And she didn't even have to go to the example was actually, I like the example, but she didn't even need to put the example in there.
No.
But the issue is that in more conservative households, you build a mental toughness when you're able to strive for things and maybe you don't get it, or maybe you do get it, and then the next level is hard and you have to overcome these obstacles to get it. And there's a certain level of mental fortitude that you're awarded when you have to strive for things and overcome them. But when you're handed a participation trophy and told good job, do everything you do, well, you don't develop any thick skin. You don't develop, any grit. And so, yeah, when you're faced with a challenge in life, it's like, no, like everything's falling apart.
Crumbling.
Like my mental health is going to be the first thing to go. But on the flip side, no. Like if you've been raised in a more conservative household, it seems like, no, I just have the mental toughness to, push through this, right? Like I've been in this situation in maybe a different domain, but I know the process mentally of how to overcome and push through it and persevere.
Right. It's just what Pop said in Friday. You win some, you lose some, but you live to fight another day.
Yeah. As long as you still got breath, keep it going. Keep chugging along.
Great question. So quite a few is the short answer. We looked at education, household income, race, ethnicity, the sex of the parent, the sex of the child, the age of the child, subjective reports of how comfortable their standard of living is from the parent's perspective. We also looked at mental health measured by what the youth reports versus what the parent reports, and found that they were well aligned. And
Hold up.
Period. Name them out.
So yeah. So now it's like your question doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
Like
next.
Yeah, the correlation and the causation, don't even, word salad that you just said don't even matter, because we asked the parent and we asked the child, they're both consistent, right? And
so boom.
That's right.
Yeah, boom.
What's your next question?
Yeah.
also say that we're not the first to identify the relationship between liberal adolescence and mental health problems. This has been something that the social psychologist Jonathan Haidt has written a lot about recently. And of course, many psychologists have documented the alarming rise in suicide, depression, and other mental health problems that we've seen over the last 10 years among adolescents in the United States.
It's also my understanding, Jonathan, that while conservatives might be less likely to seek treatment for things like mild depression or mild emotional disorders, they're actually more likely to seek treatment for severe depressive disorder or severe anxiety. Is that accurate?
I can't say that I've come across that literature, and we weren't really looking into that in a great deal of depth for this report, but I can tell you that in addition to the subjective items where the parents...
See, this is what's making me mad, because this is how media tries to enforce narratives.
Yes. Yeah.
And when you have somebody who is esteemed like him and who studied and really cares about the work that he does, like if the data was completely the opposite, he would still have the same, presentation.
Yes.
Right? He'd still present it like, no, this is the data. This is the fact. This is what I found. But they, as the hostess, are trying to present and push this narrative like, well, what about this? What about that?
Yeah.
This is what I know. Instead of just asking him, well, what did you find? Right? Like, explain what you find.
Detail.
What does this data point mean? And that's being a journalist rather than a media personality or whatever they call themselves, because this isn't real journalism.
No.
So,
and that's why people don't trust these mainstream media sources anymore, because it isn't real journalism. That's why I got out of it, to be honest, because this was my major in school. But there is no following the ethnic code anymore. So
yeah,
is it called the ethnic code? I forgot. Something like that. Moral code of ethics. That's what it is.
Describing mental illness symptoms of their children, and the children are reporting their level of well-being. We also documented that those subjective measures are highly correlated with whether or not the child is currently receiving psychiatric medication and the probability that the child has recently visited a doctor to discuss psychological problems.
So I'm curious, were urban and rural areas also considered in the confounding variables list? I don't know if I remember you saying it. I can imagine a world where, we see a correlation currently in the data and voter trends of participation in Republican primaries and voting more conservative in rural areas, and also oftentimes an increase in actually mental health issues in conservative areas. A lot of these...
I can't listen to her no more.
I know.
This is just crazy. It's like, land the plane, let the man talk. Like, why is he on your show? Like, did y'all think y'all were gonna challenge him?
That's exactly what it is.
It sounds like they're the counter argument. Usually how like Fox News or MSNBC has like the counter person. It's like they're the counter person for their own segment.
Yeah,
People need to take a
but it
debate
doesn't make
class.
sense because, like, are you trying to debate him? Because it sounded like you brought him on to talk about the data that you presented at the front of the show or at the front of the segment. And so, I mean, this is how media just, kind of steers clear of you. But this guy, we're going to let him answer one more and then we got to move on because she's taking too long.
Small towns across America have been left behind by a lot of industries for, this sort of urban sprawl. We've seen this trend to be in more urban areas. Likewise, we see a trend for urban areas to be more liberal, but I can definitely recognize that living in a, urban versus rural area could contribute to a child's mental health. Did you look into the rural-urban divide at all in the research or find any trends there?
We didn't have quite enough sample, I'd say, to look in great depth in rural versus urban, depending on how you define it. There didn't seem to be any large differences by educational attainment, socioeconomic status, though, surprisingly. So other work, notably by Ann Case and Angus Deaton, two Princeton economists, have found that deaths of despair have increased quite a bit among less educated white Americans who tend to live in rural areas. Lately, though, there's been some convergence, as they themselves have noted, and that other communities are starting to see rising deaths from alcohol use, drug use, accidental overdoses, and suicide, even in many urban areas. So it seems like that may have first sort of spiked in rural areas, but is now very much an urban problem too. And that applies to adults who are middle-aged. these trends that we're seeing are, in terms of mental health decline, are concentrated in adolescence, in terms of rising depressive symptoms of depression and anxiety. And I think it's well established that is happening very much in urban areas as well.
Your study also looked.
Yeah, so we're gonna end it there. But yeah, it's basically like, hey, the urban areas, which are the more liberal areas. So that lady was right on that front. Yeah, they're seeing that rise in, depression and anxiety and thoughts of ending it all, and it's probably contributing, or it's probably a direct result of the parenting style, right?
Yes.
And so let's get into our quality set. Parenting is the foundation for the future of humanity. And if it isn't successful now, our future is dark. And so when it comes to, raising kids, or even if you have any impact on the youth at all, like I'm a coach right now, I don't have any kids, but I do work with the youth. You work with, the youth at our church. It's very important that you are, giving them expectations, but also treating them with warmth, right? And not just letting them be whatever and whoever, because they are the future. And if we aren't collectively, helping foster the youth to become the productive citizens of tomorrow, then our future will be dark.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so, what do you think? Is conservative parenting styles, the authoritarian parenting style, is that better or is that worse? Yeah, bye, Sonic. Get out of here. All right, we'll be right back on the Quality Network with our last topic.
Fight for the algorithm.
Hey guys, welcome to the Conscious Outlet Podcast. We are officially a part of the Quality Entertainment Network, and we are so happy to be here. I'm Miracle Monique.
And I'm Alan J.
And we're here to discuss the intersection of culture, faith, media, so we can inspire some practical solutions to some huge societal challenges that we're facing today. So let's work together to get this done.
Quality.
What is up, quality people? We got a doozy of a segment, guys. American culture is trash, and if you want to know how trash it is, well, you just stay tuned. We got Miracle, we got Kenya. Make sure that you like for the algorithm, because a deadbeat mom brings a baby to store in just a diaper in the freezing winter. Bruh. This is just sad. You gotta see it to believe it, though. I'm just gonna dive in and read some of this article, because when I saw this, I could not believe it. Now, police called on a baby, and this is in Mississippi, so shout out to Alan's home state. You see this baby, and you see this mom just like throwing frozen stuff at him, or at her, the child, and props to, and she looks like she's going off and cussing, and now she's twerking, saying F that, and then somebody called the police on her. Now let's go through this article, because when I read this, I just couldn't believe it, and I was like, we got to talk about this.
Yeah.
So props to Miracle for sending this into our group message. It says the family of a Mississippi woman arrested for child abuse after taking her toddler shopping at Walmart with only a diaper on during freezing temperatures, said she is a good mom. That's just not.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, good moms don't twerk in front of their kids like that.
She's 26 too.
Yeah, she's our age.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm there. Don't do that.
You're freshly 27.
Exactly. I'm still.
No comment. Besides, Cambria I think that's her name, Cambria. Gabrielle Darby, 26, was charged with child neglect after police received a call to the store around 10:30 a.m. on January 17th and found the mother in the parking lot, according to WJTV. Darby's confrontation and rant inside the store went viral after the video was posted by a Walmart employee. But Darby's great aunt, Mary Darby Pickens, you're just going to have, is a Darby just a standard middle name in this family?
It's probably her maiden name.
That's probably what
true.
it is.
That's true. Wait, no, but
Oh, it's not?
But, yeah, you're right. It is the maiden name. Who lives in Jackson, Mississippi. Shout out Alan. Where Cambria and many of her relatives reside, said she had never seen evidence of Cambria being a bad mother. Well,
We have.
Marie, here it is. There it is.
You're tripping.
That's
My
all,
thing is,
that's all
like-
you need to see.
Yeah,
If she's never been a bad mother and you've never seen
This is
evidence
it.
of it, well, that's it.
They could be used to this kind of thing, though. I mean, you're not going to recognize bad parenting if you're used to bad parenting.
Or if you're a bad parent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you're doing great.
You're doing great, baby. Just make sure you do that.
baby,
You good.
shivering.
Exactly.
Bare butts on the metal.
And people were saying, well, the baby wasn't reacting, but if you look closely,
He looks like
he's shivering. Like, you can see his jaw, like,
yeah.
you can see it. Like, you can see it clearly if you look at him.
It don't even matter. This is just crazy.
It's insane. And I
Yeah.
can't believe, and people in the comments, of the story, well, did anybody try to help her instead of try to get her arrested? I'm like, this is helping her. But we got to think about the child first.
Well, and it looks like those people confronted her. I mean, what are you going to do? Take the child and run? Now
Right.
you're a kidnapper. Like, you can't just do that to somebody's child. The correct thing to do is to call the authorities. That's why they're
Exactly.
there. But people are so anti,
Children.
police that
And that.
they're like, hey, we can just solve problems civilly. It's like, yes, but when we can't, especially after you've been confronted, well, what's the next logical step?
Exactly.
It's to call the authorities. Or you can do something crazy and start a confrontation, but then inevitably the authorities are going to get called, and now you're in trouble because you started a confrontation, right? So
Yeah.
the correct thing to do in this situation is to go up in a respectful manner, say, hey, I don't think this is right. You need to, change your ways. If, you get the response that Cambria is giving you, then that's when you call the authorities. Right.
Yeah.
So.
And this is a really good example of the lack of empathy we now have for children in general, because 20 years ago, this would not be acceptable. We would immediately be like, okay, she needs to be arrested. This child needs to be taken from her and put in a safer, better home, right?
And she would go to an asylum.
Yes, but now you got comments like, well, why didn't anyone try to help her? And it's because we lost that empathy for children because we no longer see them as people.
Yeah, I would say what you said about anti-children. I definitely think that's probably number one, honestly, because every other issue, there's something going on. But when it comes to children and things like children trafficking, things like that, there's just a lack of importance surrounding it.
Yes.
And then also the comment you said, people were saying that the child's not reacting. You can see the child is dissociating a little bit, and it's
the child doesn't know how to get warm.
Child.
They don't know how to get warm, so they're gonna sit
tell,
there.
You could tell. I can't tell if it was a boy or a girl. But
It's a boy.
Okay. You could tell he wasn't a happy child.
Yes.
You can see it on his face, which is sad. So.
And then she's throwing frozen foods at him. Look at this, just frozen foods, and that's crazy. So back to Marie. Marie also said she did not use drugs, as if that justifies.
Oh, great.
Just because you don't do drugs doesn't
that
mean
actually
you're a
makes
good
it
mother.
kind of worse. You're doing this sober.
Yeah, exactly.
My God, you have
that's
a clear
exactly what I
mind
said.
doing this?
Yeah.
My goodness.
Everything I've seen, and this is a quote from Marie, everything I've seen with her and the kids has been positive. Pickens, a retired social worker, told the Post, I don't condone that what was done, and it was right to be reported, but we don't know both sides of the story.
Oh
What's the
my
other
God.
side? There is no
Oh
other
my
side of
God.
the story. There's only one side of the
Retired
story.
social worker.
The
That's
truth.
concerning.
It's very concerning. But you got people
Wait,
like this in the social work system all the time.
There's no other side of this story. What is she talking about?
Yeah. Didn't she say something
This
like,
kid-
what if the child took their clothes off? It doesn't matter what the child does. You make sure that child is
Keep their
clothed.
clothes on, yeah.
It doesn't matter.
So sometimes kids can be difficult not wanting to put their clothes on or taking them off, and maybe
It
she
doesn't
was in
matter.
a rush. So this is just a hypothetical, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
did that kid, well,
Because did that happen?
First of all, the kid took the clothes off. Where are the clothes? It's like that's just dumb. The clothes would be there, or
Yeah.
her first reaction would have been like, "Oh no, he has clothes, but since he was being a bad little kid, we left the clothes in the car." Like she would have said something, you know,
But instead
Right.
she's just like
Yeah.
working.
which still wouldn't have been fine, by the way. I'm not
No.
saying that would have been
But
fine,
like
but
even if the child did do that, it's your job as the parent, like you were saying, to make sure your kid has clothes on. If he needs a spanking before he puts his clothes on, he needs
Exactly.
to give a spanking and put his clothes on. Like
Yeah.
That's another example of like letting your kids lead you kind of deal. Like
Yeah.
get in that same mind frame of that of, well, your child did this, so you got to react this way. Well, what can you do? Like,
now the excuses get even worse. So it says Pickens said Cambria brought her 3 kids to see their 92-year-old great-great-grandmother when she was dying, and she acted very appropriately, and so did the kids. So what does that have to do with anything?
what does that
Correlation,
even mean?
This
Currently,
is
yeah.
an appropriate question for the.
Now yes.
What does that have to do with?
Now this
the
is a
situation at
correlation
hand?
causation question. That is it.
It's just a dumb statement.
Yeah.
There's a waste of breath and air, and it's just sad. It's
It
like
is.
don't make excuses for bad behavior. Like you don't know the side of the story. She's been good in the past. It's like, well,
Well, she's not in this moment.
Now she's showing her lack of fruit in
Yes.
this instance.
Yes.
And she needs to be dealt with accordingly.
And if she really needed help, she would have went in that Walmart and said, look, y'all, someone give me some money, some clothes. I need help. I need food. My baby needs clothes. Like, she would have done that. But no, she was going around shopping. She was fine.
And then it gets even better. She says, I'm not saying there are underlying mental health issues in her case, but you need to find out her story. What she did showed poor judgment, certainly, and it's very unfortunate because one incident like this can ruin a life. Cambria's mother, Lakeisha Darby, hung up on a Post reporter who heard the sound of young kids in the background. So this is just quite the story. I mean, and it brings up, an interesting quality sip. Bad parenting is the reason why strong community is paramount.
Yeah.
And so, just statistically, everybody can't be a good parent.
Yeah.
Like, that's just one of those little bell curves, that you had in statistics. But if we had strong communities and people, then, like, you hear about it all the time, like when, you had a mom that was on drugs. Like, so my mom and I watched the Simone Biles movie that came out on Lifetime like 7 months ago today. And Simone's mother was heavy into drugs, but since she had great-grandparents, they legally adopted her. And that's how she got into gymnastics. And they were there, every step of the way through gymnastics. But had she stayed with her mom, who was, in like just heavy into the drug scene, then she would have never been Simone Biles. And I believe her mom's doing well now. Like the story indicated that like she had kind of gotten her, life together, was working with people. So I hope that has remained consistent since the end of where that movie ended in real life. But yeah, like if you have a strong family, strong community where people can, pick other people up, because things will happen, and it's sad that maybe this mother is going through some sort of mental health thing.
Right.
But if that's the case, then somebody needs to help, rear these kids appropriately, because like we said in our last segment, the children are the future, and if they aren't being reared properly to be productive citizens, well, then our future is going to be dark.
Yeah.
And so, bad parenting is inevitable. Like there's just going to be bad parents, but a strong community is of utmost importance so that we can continue to, have productive members of society.
It looked
Y'all
like
looking at Sonic?
Looked like she was falling asleep
She
standing
is.
up.
She is. That's what she does. I was like, what are y'all looking at? But
She said, what's so funny?
But yeah, so do y'all have any closing thoughts before we get on out of here?
Stop wearing bonnets in the store. Stop it. Get some help.
Stop thinking twerking is cute in
Yes.
public. That's not cute. You
Yes.
look ratchet. And that on top of a bonnet and poor parenting is not cute. Woo. I'm done.
Me too.
All right, folks. Well, that'll do it for the weekly tea today. I thought we had some fun. This was a good episode. Remember that we're at 843 subscribers. We're trying to get to 1,000, so make sure you're sharing this with your friends and family. We'll be back Sunday with another edition of the weekly tea. I said the quality tea earlier. Yeah. We'll be back on Sunday with another edition of the weekly tea. Just, normally scheduled programming.
Yep.
So make sure that you mark your calendars for that. Also, Patreon will be launching on Sunday. So if you want not Patreon, Substack.
Yep.
I'm all over the place. Substack will be launching on Sunday when we go live. And so if you want early access to that, it is The Art of Practical Religion on Substack. So it's basically like a newsletter. So you'll get emails of, the different content and articles straight to your inbox. So you don't necessarily have to download the app, which is, I think it's a really cool thing. And so you can stay up to date on all things quality entertainment and get, deeper thoughts to stay encouraged and to get, good practical perspective on, things that are going on in this crazy world. Also, if you want, just deeper dive into, and conversations with good quality people, join us in the quality group on Facebook. Ask for an invite, and we will gladly accept you there. We're going to get on out of here for tonight. We want to thank you for tuning in. Goodbye!